They had told me, they warned me, don't go anywhere by yourself. I woke up early and I wanted to go to this bakery that was in B Block. And I go to this bakery. I thought I was good. I went to go get some chocolate and some bread. But I guess somebody saw me and they came down. And when I'm sitting there about to get my stuff, boom, I get guns pulled on me. They take me to a cell with a gun. And I walk in the cell and they start wrapping up my hands with cables and like strapping me to a chair. And that day was about, I think it was like 8 or 9 hours. And I remember they had this knife with this, the handle was metal, but it was really heavy. And with this knife, he would just hit me with this metal handle all on my head. He just bam, bam. And my head had all these like little golf balls. And not only that, but the worst part was I was tied with my hands behind my back like this, right? And I didn't know when it was gonna happen, but somebody would just hit me from behind like this, right in my ears. So they bam, bam, and they would hit me here. And I remember just all I heard for days was like the beep. My ears were all swollen. Oh man, the worst torture of my life. No, I just thought I was gonna die. I mean, what else could you think? I know there's no way that anyone's gonna get me out. And oh, listen to this. My boys are yelling my name. White boy, Oscar. People are screaming. I hear them screaming for me because they're looking for me. They know something happened, right? And my dumb ass decided to go get breakfast in a different wing. I could have just waited, right? No. So I hear my boys walking around the block yelling for me, and I can't say. I got something wrapped around my mouth, got a towel on me. I'm all the way in the back of the cell by the bathroom. These people are dumping buckets of water on my face. My mother's on the cell phone. They're like, listen to your son, send that money, he's gonna die. You're gonna send him to you in a box chopped up in pieces. So just what he did was he told me you're gonna die. He paid one of his hitters, and one day on a visit day, I'm out and I go from my cell to a different cell to go to the bathroom. And I left my visit inside of my cell with a lock. Now, while I'm in the other cell going to the bathroom, this hitter comes in to take care of me. We fight. He stabs me a couple times. I push him out the door, and there's visits. People start screaming. There's a woman next to my right, and I'm wearing a white t-shirt, and I'm all bloody. I got blood from scars on he cut me on my arm, my guts, and I look down. There's like fat cells, they're like little grease balls. They're coming out of my stomach, and I just fainted on the ground. Bam.
So I am deeply honored to be with Oscar this evening. And my favorite stories are the foreign prison stories, the hard-hitting, extreme conditions and environments, not for the faint-hearted, but he tells it amazingly, and it is such a compelling journey that he's been on. So get ready for what's coming next. And Oscar's links are in the description box. If you are watching this on YouTube, he's got his own channel. He's got his own Instagram. Everything's down there. If you've got any questions for him, please follow him and support his work. So first off, thank you for coming on, man.
No, thank you, Sean. It's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for having me on the platform. Hello to all your subscribers. And we're here. We're ready to rock and roll and tell our story to the world.
Right. Before we get into what led to this, I like to start with the craziest thing you experienced in prison in Ecuador, or that you saw, if you've got a story that you could talk about.
Sure. I mean, I have a ton of them. I don't know how R-rated you want to get into.
Go full on, man. But we just got to be careful with swearing and the names of drugs. But
All
go
right,
full on. Yeah, yeah.
You got it. So I would have to say the craziest thing that I experienced would have to be just before I went free in 2008. I was in the Supermax block F wing of Ex Penal Garcia Moreno. And at the time, I am already free. I had signed paperwork and my sentence was done. But due to backup in immigration, they were not taking me out. There had been an intent of escape in the immigration jail, and they had also started a fire which damaged the building, and they left me where I was in the maximum security wing. Now, one day we're all outside. It starts raining, And at the time, Ecuador was playing a soccer match. Now, the 5 guards that are watching us on the yard are actually inside the guardhouse, all watching a soccer game. So, the people that are there are people that have nothing to lose, really. The only one was me. I was almost ready to go home. I didn't even tell anyone yet that I was free. No one's supposed to know this because over there it gets a little crazy, and someone might get jealous and they don't want you to go home. They want you to stay there with them, or they want you to die. They don't want to let you go free. So it was just terrifying moments for me. And this specific day, rainy day, Ecuador's playing a soccer game, and one of the guys says, "You know what? I We should just try to escape, man." And everybody was like, "What?" "Yeah, yeah, let's try to do it." There was a bench on the yard that the guards would use, that they would come in and sit down to play parcheesi with us. So this bench was about 10 feet long and about, I would say, 3 feet tall. So they asked me to walk over to the guardhouse. I took a peek in, and everybody was glued to the TV watching the game. Now, they had a small 14-inch TV, so everybody was gathered around this TV watching this game. So I see everybody's entertained. I go back to the guys, tell them everyone's watching the game. Let's do it. They tell me to go grab this bench. I put it up against the wall where the other guys were able to come out running, climb up the bench, get on top of the guardhouse where the guards were actually watching this game. And they climbed up and went through wire fencing that had, razor sharp cutting edges on it, and they escape. So at the moment, 4 people leave the maximum security wing. And I would say it was around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Now at 5 o'clock, they come in and lock us all in, and that's it. We're locked until the next day. So when they come in at 5 o'clock to do the count on us, the guard walks past my cell. Castro, I'm here. Goes to the next one. Giovanni Cox wasn't there. Goes to the next one. People wasn't there. And he just starts yelling their names like, "Where are you?" Because it's a small area. We can't go, too far. The cell block is around 35 cells, and it's just the most harmless criminals in there. It's a punishment block. So he starts yelling for these prisoners. He runs upstairs. They're doing the count on the second floor as well. They're missing 2 prisoners upstairs as well. These guys start freaking out. They're going in the cells, looking under the beds, tossing mattresses, and we're all just laughing. I'm laughing at them because I know the guys left, and these are all guys that had 25-year sentences. And it was one of the craziest days of my prison sentence. The police came in. They actually arrested all 5 of the guards that were on duty because they thought they had let them out through the door because there was no other way. Really, they could never imagine that they scaled up a bench and went through the fence and jumped down and escaped. So yeah, it was one of the craziest stories ever.
What was your life like before all of this, Oscar?
Um, I mean, I was just a normal kid, man. I grew up in a small town in Jersey. Great family, great parents. They both worked hard. They showed me, the best thing to do is work, you study, go to college. They always told me, do your homework. They were constantly behind me, always. And I just think, I didn't want that. I wanted something else. I like the rap music. I like the mafia movies, and I wanted to live that life. So sadly, that life, I was very attracted to it. I got some stories of when I was a small, young kid, say 6th grade, 12, 13 years old, the first time I ever saw a pistol. I wanted to buy it. I eventually had it. I was taking it to school with me. No one knew except a couple close friends. But my family life was very normal. Mother, father. It's not like I had a divorced family. My father wasn't a drunk. My mother wasn't a drug addict. We were just a normal family. But I just went off and took the wrong route. So
Excuse me, one second. How did it make you feel having a pistol as a teenager, carrying that around?
I mean, I thought I was the coolest guy in school. I don't know. I just felt powerful with it. Even though we didn't even have any bullets, but there was a place near our middle school that we would go. It was a wooded area, and we would go there and just just play with the gun, pass it around to different friends. There was no bullets in it. I mean, even we had a box of Philly blunts. I don't know if you know what they are, but they're cigars. And back in those days, the rappers would, they would say in all the raps about Philly blunts, and I didn't even know they were used to smoke the green, right? But we were in the woods with my friends, 12, 13 years old, and we're lighting up cigars like we're cool. But that's not even what the cigars were used for. So things like that, we were just trying to live the life that we were seeing on MTV, HBO, whatever the case may be.
So how did this progress as you approach your 20s?
Um, it progressed pretty quickly, I would say. Um, I wasn't really into school. I started getting in trouble. I would get in fights a lot. I got suspended a couple times. And at the end of the day, I just wanted to drop out. Spoke to my parents, told them, I don't want to be in school anymore. And my father told me, if you're going to drop out, you're going to have to go get a job immediately. It's not like you're going to be just hanging around the house doing nothing. So I accepted it. I said, let's do it. I'm down to go to work. So that's what we did. And at this job is where I meet the Colombian connected to this underworld. So I'm going to work, 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. gig, and I meet this kid at work, and he invites me to his house. We become friends, smoke a J together. We'll go out partying, and he invites me to his family get together. I meet one of his cousins. Then they invite me to a Christmas party. And when I get to this party, I meet this guy. His name's Tulio. And Tulio was, we would say, he's the boss. And he just approached me. He said, since I'd been friends with these guys for a while, and he said, you ever been to Colombia? I said, no, never been. He said, you should think about going there. You can make some good money, and you're gonna have a lot of fun. Women, you can have whatever you want down there. We'll treat you well. We'll give you some cash so you could spend on the trip. We'll pay for everything. We'll pay for the hotel. We'll pay for the plane ticket. And to me, it was very intriguing, and I definitely wanted to do it.
So what happened on that trip?
So the first trip, like I said, went down, had a blast. I was a young kid. Um, I think it was around 16 to 17, around that age. And I just had a blast. I went down, was living a movie life. I was rolling around with guys that had, bodyguards. They're doing the white all night. We're staying up 3, 4 days, partying, and partying with prostitutes, and it was just crazy, madness. And and then comes the day where you have to come back to the city with the stuff you're bringing. We only dealed with the brown, so here I am on a plane coming back to Queens, New York, JFK, and young minor, teenager, and trafficking this stuff right through the airport. So it was crazy, I mean, got back and got 20 G's for my trip, which is something that back in those times was a lot of money, especially for a young teenager that had never had that type of money in my life. And it was just a movie for me.
What about going through the airport? Were you nervous? Checkpoints?
Oh, of course. Yes. As soon as I got off the flight, I got off a flight, Avianca flight. So one of the hottest flights there were coming back from Colombia. It's a Colombian Airlines. So as soon as you get off the plane, you're walking down the tunnel, and the tunnel's like really slow. I'm wondering what's going on. I got my headphones on. I'm listening to music, and as we get closer and closer to the exit of the tunnel, I see a wall of agents. And as people are coming out, they're calling people over, asking them for their passports, looking them up and down, asking them questions. I don't know what they're asking them. But in my head, I'm just like, oh man, this is it. You're an idiot. You're going to get caught. Should have never done this. Here we go. I hope you're ready. And I walk out of the tunnel and I just, try to avoid eye contact. And I'm walking, and one of the agents says, hey. So I turn around and he looks at me. He's like, come here. And I walk over and passport, give him the passport. And he asked me, where were you? And what did you go there for? So I told him, I have a grandmother that lives in Armenia, Colombia, and there had just been an earthquake there about 3 weeks ago. So my parents sent me down with some money for my grandmother. I went down to go see how she was and help her out, getting a new place and all that good stuff. I mean, a complete lie. If they would have pulled me in the room, you would have been caught like that immediately. But that's what came to my head, and I just said it real quick. And the guy looked me up and down, gave me back my passport, said, "Go ahead." Once I get to the customs line, I'm at the line, and the gentleman Tulio, the one that originally sent me down, told me when you come back, look for a woman. If you can see an elderly woman, that would be better. Look for an elderly woman around your grandmother's age. So if you give her, a nice little story, they're gonna like you. You're a young white kid, green eyes. No one's gonna even look at you. So I said, all right. When I get to the customs line, I scan the all the customs agents. I find the elderly woman. I hop into her line, and when I get there, that's where she was like, "Where'd you go? What were you doing?" And I give her the story about my grandmother. She was like, "Oh my God, such a great kid. Stan, here you go, kid. Welcome back to the States." And I just walked out, headphones on. Just I'm floating through the airport because you get this adrenaline rush because your heart's thumping 1,000 miles an hour, and I'm just floating, walking through the airport. Insane.
Did you have it on you or in your luggage?
It was actually a pair of shoes that I had on me, so there would be around 300 grams in each shoe, and then in the luggage we had more, so it was around 11 to 1,200 grams.
Wow. So did you blitz
Yeah.
through that money and have to do it again quite fast?
Of course, yes, yes, yes. That's most definitely happened. Once I got back, not only did I get paid, but then I started working with these guys because now they trust me. Now they know, I got the balls to do a trip. They know, I can speak English, speak Spanish. They know I'm a white kid with green eyes, and they're like, we could send this kid um, trafficking through the streets. I mean, you could put a book bag on him. No one's going to stop him with a key, things like that. So I would, transport money. I would transport brown. I would transport white. I would do a whole bunch of stuff that, not a normal drug trafficker could do because they might bring attention to themselves by the way they look. I didn't look like a trafficker. So you know, I had an advantage, we would say.
Did you have any near misses in the beginning? Any early, they almost could have caught you?
Oh, of course. I got arrested several times. Luckily, had good lawyers that got me off. One time that right before I went down to my third trip, we got arrested with some H, me and a couple friends, and my record as an adult was clean, but theirs was not. So we spoke with the prosecutors and with the judge, and they were actually offering me 5 years with 24 months. So it would have been, I had to do 2 years, and then I would have to do the rest on probation for the five. But I didn't accept it. In my head at the time, I thought it was invincible. I was a young 18-year-old, and I said, no, if anything, I'll just flee the country. I'll go, to South America, but I'm not going to do 2 years and then have to come out on probation. So I said no. I took it to trial, and luckily I won, and I got away with trafficking. We got caught with about 55 grams of brown packed up into bundles. We were going to deliver it to a spot in Elizabeth, New Jersey, and it was just basically it was like a sample of some material we had, but we had it bagged up for them. But yeah, I mean, that was a close call. I should have learned my lesson there and said, you know what, you almost went away for at least 5 years, at least 2 years you were going to do inside. So just calm down. But no, in my head, I said, I won this. I'm invincible. Let's go. Let's go do another trip, and nothing can stop me.
So did you start to expand the countries you were smuggling out of?
Yeah, since we had done Colombia twice, we decided to go to Ecuador this time, get a different stamp on the passport. So that was the plan, and that's the country we traveled to on my third trip, and that's where I had my extended stay, we would say.
Right. Can you take us through that slowly then, the trip?
All right. So um, the trip from the beginning was not. I didn't feel well. I mean, I there was something just wrong since the beginning. I just didn't feel like my other trips. Now I get there, first day, my luggage got lost. So right there, red flag number one. Then I get to the hotel. No, no, I'm sorry. Luggage lost. Then I go outside and there's nobody there waiting for me. That's red flag number two. No one was there to pick me up. I had to find my own way to my hotel. Then red flag number three was this kid didn't show up the day he was supposed to with the stuff. So I don't know, it was just all bad from the beginning. So I'm just gonna take you to the day where we get captured and at the hotel. So I get a phone call and it's the gentleman that's bringing me the stuff. He says, "Look, I should be there in about 2 hours. I had a delay. The bus broke down that was coming from Cali, Colombia, and it broke down around the border of Ecuador. So that's the delay, but I'll be there soon." I was like, "All right, no problem." I go outside and I go to a hotel that's across the street. It's called the Swiss Hotel. And there was a casino on the first floor. I sit at the some slot machines that have the view of my hotel front door entrance. So I'm playing the slots, I'm watching the entrance because I don't know, I just had a funny feeling. I didn't see anything. After about 2 hours, I leave the casino and I go back to the hotel. Now, as I'm walking in, I'm going past the lobby, past the receptionist, and there's a gentleman there, and he automatically says, "Mr. Castro, your friend is over here waiting for you." And that just struck me as odd because I had been there for several days. I'd never seen this person before. And how did he know my name? When I turn around, this guy stands up, and I'm supposed to act like, right, I know him because we've known each other. That's why he's coming to visit me at the hotel. So I'm like, "Hey." So I walk over, I give him a hug like if I known him for years, and immediately I smell that he does not smell good. This guy smells like death. And I'm like, wow, this is weird. I mean, in our trafficking business, you're never going to be around someone that does not smell well. It's usually well shaved, well cologned, and well dressed. But this guy was the complete opposite. And then we have a seat at the front windows of the Hotel Radisson, which was the hotel I was at. And there's huge windows. They're like 30 feet tall, about 50 feet wide, and you can see the street, and you can see from the street inside. So they were outside watching me while this guy hands me the stuff on the couch that we're sitting on. And then around me, there's other sofas and couches and lounge chairs, and there's people like reading the paper, and there's a couple women around. And when he hands me the stuff, I tell him, "Look, go to the hotel, take a shower, come back. We'll go out because I haven't been out yet, and I want to go out and do the town. Have some fun before I leave." He's like, "All right, no problem. Let's do it." So when I get up to go leave, I feel that the bag's light. In my head, I'm like, "This is not the full amount of stuff that I'm supposed to have." And just when like those thoughts come starting into my head, boom, everybody gets up and like, "Don't move, don't move." Boom, they grab me and they're rushing me to the elevator and they put me inside. And in the elevator, there's a guy with a camera. And I'm like, "What is this?" And they're like, "This is the officer and this is a sergeant and these are your charges." He started reading me all these charges in Spanish. We get to my floor. When the doors open up, everybody's like standing outside of the elevator smoking cigarettes, a bunch of detectives. They walk me to my room. They throw the stuff that was in the bag on the bed and like, "What is this?" And I said, "I don't know. I'm just coming to pick up money." They're like, "Coming to pick up money?" They were like, "This is." I was like, "Oh, I had no idea."
So this podcast is brought to you with sponsor NordVPN. Not only is it super secure with NordVPN, but if you want to watch something, if you're in a foreign country, for example, I've got my podcast, my documentary coming out with Sammy the Bull in September 26th in America. If you're in the UK, you can't see it here. Use the VPN, NordVPN. It will get you in and you'll be able to watch it. As you can see, I've got my VPN on the United States presently. The most VPN providers are offering online threat protection, but when you look closely, it's just simple DNS filtering. NordVPN's Threat Protection Pro offers advanced digital protection from malware and online threats. If you're downloading a file and you're worried that something is attached to it, Threat Protection Pro checks it for malware. For a while, I couldn't click on any links. It was driving me mad. My channel got hacked when I clicked on a false sponsored ad link, and I lost my channel for days. Well, you can rest easy. Threat Protection Pro blocks websites that are fake, malicious, or used for phishing, fraud, or scams. Gets rid of the pop-ups flooding your screen. Yep, it gives you a completely smooth browsing experience. NordVPN protects you from the various attacks: man-in-the-middle attack, phishing, password attacks, DDoS, malware, malvertising, ransomware, half of which I have suffered. No more. thanks to NordVPN. If you're watching this on YouTube, the link is in the description box below this video and the pinned comment. NordVPN are helping sponsor these podcasts, and you can get 4 months extra on a 2-year plan at my link, https nordvpn.com/Atwood. It's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee.
I don't know what is that. And they're like, listen, kid, you're gonna do 25 years here. All right. So I hope you cooperate with us, it'll just make your time easier. And I said, listen, I have no idea what that was. I was just coming for money. So they said, all right, you want to play smart? And swack, they smack me. They're like, where's your passport? They look for the passport, they grab it, and they're looking at my passport. And where the picture was, it was kind of folded up because I had used the passport a lot. I'd flown to Colombia, I'd flown to Argentina, into Uruguay, and I just used a lot. And it was just coming apart a little bit where the picture was. And they said, oh, this passport's fake. There's no way you're American. Smack me again. They were like, handcuff them. Let's go. They take me downstairs and off we go to Interpol. So once we get to Interpol, I walk in the station. It's right across the street from the airport. And as I'm walking in, I'm walking down the tunnel and I look to my right in the room and I see the gentleman that handed me the stuff. So as soon as I see him, it's a setup. This guy set me up. He brought the stuff over. He's working with the feds. And they locked me in a cell for about 2 hours by myself. And then a DEA agent that was stationed in Quito, which was actually from Manhattan, a young kid. He was about 22, 23 years old. He came to visit me and, he wanted an interview and we spoke and he just wanted information. So I was like, look, man, I don't know what you're talking about. Stuff is mine. It doesn't belong to anybody but me. And in my head, I thought it was going to be like Colombia. I didn't think it would be that much of a sentence. But he was trying to tell me, he said, listen, you should cooperate. We could put you on a plane. You could go back to New York. Nobody knows you're here. And we'll help you out. And we'll try to get you a reduced sentence. But I wasn't having it. I thought I was living the mafia life. I thought I was in a movie. And I thought I was just going to go down with the ship, like the captain sinks with the ship. I said, that's it. I'm going with what I got. And that's what I did, man.
So once you got out of that room, then where did they take you next?
So they held me there in Interpol for a couple of days. And this was December. So I got caught December 18th, 2001. And on around December 21st, they come and take me out of that cell and they say, look, you're going to go to where your case started. And I was like, where's that? And they said, it starts in Tulcan, Ecuador, which is the border with Colombia. So they throw me in the back of a pickup truck. They handcuff me to some bar that's in the back. And we're off on I think it was around 6 to 7 hour trip in the back of this truck, going through the mountains of Ecuador all the way to the border. Insane. I mean, it was just crazy. Now I get to the city of Tulcan, Ecuador. They put me in a small jail that is next. Well, not. They put me in a small holding cell that's like in a police station next to the jail. So they put me in this holding cell. There's like 4 or 5 guys that are there for random crimes around the town, like breaking and entering and robbing and things to do with drug use. So I walk in. These guys are, man, it's like a movie. It's scary, right? They're like cut faces. They got people with like bunch of Gillette cuts all on their arms because I guess they get, high or whatever, and they're cutting themselves with razors. I'm like, what is this? And as soon as I walk in, I start speaking in Spanish. They're like, you speak Spanish? I'm like, yeah, yeah. They were like, oh, all right. They were like, don't worry, you're gonna be good. This jail is run by the Colombians, and it's December, so it's probably gonna be like a party in there. Which is I couldn't believe it, right? So December 24th comes, and here comes the police officers. They said, you ready, kid? You're going to the jail. And they walk me out. I'm walking through the streets of Tulcan. I walk down around 2 blocks. And as I'm walking down, I start hearing salsa music. You could hear it loud, and I'm like, all right. I didn't know it was coming exactly from the jail. But once we get to the front of the jail and they open up the door to the jail, and I just hear the music coming from inside, I'm like, what is this? And then there's a woman that was a guard there, and she speaks to me in Spanish, and she asked me, where I was from, and I told her, and she was like, "Don't worry, don't be scared. This place is okay." it's a party inside right now, so you're gonna walk into like a fiesta. I was like, all right, let's see what's going on. And then they take me, they open up these old like dungeon doors, where you open up the door and it's like squeaking, and there's like a long hallway, and at the end I could see bars and sunlight coming through, and there's people like trying to look through the bars to see who's coming down the hall. And gotta tell you, it's a little terrifying, even though there's music playing or whatever. But I'm like, what is this? What am I going into? And we get there, they open up the door and they just let you in. It's like, open up the cage to the lions and they just throw you in. And I have my little suitcase, my little Samsonite suitcase, and all these people come running up and they're like, fresh meat, fresh meat. And one of them goes to grab my suitcase, but I see like they're laughing while they're doing this. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And then to my right, I look and I see this tall white kid with green eyes, and he says, "What's up, kid?" Like that. And I'm like, "You're American?" He said, "No, I'm Colombian, but I was raised in the States." He's like, "Come on, come with me." And I follow him, and everybody's still cheering. They're like, "Yeah, fresh meat, fresh." And they're like whistling. And I'm looking around the yard, and there's women and men dancing salsa. They got a pool tables. They got some stores, like wooden huts that are stores. There was a gym in the corner with like concrete weights. They have 3 or 4 foot speakers on the yard, which is blasting the music, and people are drinking. There's bottles of whiskey, on the tables and stuff. I was like, wow, this is crazy. So they walk me up the steps, and right now I walk in to the cell of the person that ran this jail, and his name was Orlando. So this guy, Alex, which is the kid with the green eyes, knocks on the door. He's like, "Hey, Orlando, we got a new guy," in Spanish. And Orlando opens up the door, and we walk in. And there's kids inside the cell, right? There's a huge, like, I think it was like a 30 or 32-inch TV, but not like plasmas. I mean, like the big ones. Remember from back in the day? I'm talking about 2001. So huge TV. There's like a DVD player. There's a woman in there cooking. She's got a huge knife. She's like cutting, I don't know, a chicken or something. I'm like, what the heck is this? So they sit me down, and the guy's like, all right, tell me your story. I explain it to him like I just did to you. And he was like, all right, this kid gave you up, right? I was like, yep, I know. So they were like, where is he? I said, I don't know where he is. You know, I just got transferred here by myself. So they said, maybe eventually they'll bring your friend here and you could see him again. And that never happened. Never saw the guy again in my life. But that was my first day. And then this guy Orlando was like, "Do you need anything?" I said, "Yeah, I need to make a phone call." Called my mother, tried to explain to her what was going on. She didn't really believe me. She was like, "What are you yelling? Yeah, what are you lying to me for? I can hear these kids in the background. There's music going. What are you What are you drunk?" And I'm like, "Oh my god!" So listen, I'm gonna give you this number. You need to call it. It's the embassy, and they're gonna explain everything to you. So I gave her the number, and she couldn't believe it because I'm calling from a cell phone inside the jail. Right? I'm calling my mom. Just think about it. So she's like, "Why are you lying to me?" Because in the States, it's a collect call from the jail. It's going to let you know there's a call from the jail or the prison. But I'm making a call on a cell phone. So it was just crazy, right? Spoke to her, I let her know what happened. After I hung up, Orlando said, "Look, kid, sorry to say, you're probably going to be here for a bunch of years. So just go with Alex. Today's December 24th. We're having a party. As you can see, there's women outside. Go look for a chick, go have fun." And there was, tons of stuff. There was all the white, all the green, everything you wanted inside. There's people drinking, bottles of Chivas Regal, Johnny Walker, and I mean, it was just a party that I walked into on December 24th. It was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
What about your sleeping situation that night?
So my sleeping situation that night, we got locked into our cells at 1 a.m. because December 24th, since it was like a party, it's Christmas. For the Spanish Latinos, it's the 24th is the day we celebrate. And then we open up the presents like at 12 midnight. So that's what we did. We celebrated till 1 in the morning. And then I got locked in cell number one of the second floor with my friend Alex, which is this white guy with the green eyes that spoke perfect English and who I'm still in contact with till this day. He's actually an English teacher in Colombia. which has another crazy story. And I slept on the floor that day. There was a little thin, probably like 2 or 3 inch, mattress rolled up. I just rolled it out. I was probably drunk and off a couple of other things, and just knocked out on the floor. I mean, that was my sleeping spot for about 2 or 3 weeks until I was able to buy my own bed, and then I had my own bed and got all my own stuff.
And did you still have your cellmate throughout?
Yes. So that spot, this small jail, there was 4 or 5 people in each cell. So each cell would have two wooden bunk beds, and then there would be one or two that sleep on the floor. My friend Alex, which is the first guy I met when I walked in, he had actually attempted to escape 2 weeks prior to me getting to that small jail, and he was on the list to get transferred. So about 2 months after I got there, he got transferred to the bigger prison, and then I would see him later on after I get transferred there about almost a year later.
What about getting fed, going on the toilet, stuff like that?
Yeah, this small jail, there was no toilet in the bathroom. So after 5 o'clock, we would have to bang on the door for the guards to come in, and they would take you to where the bathrooms are, which was like down the hall. Um, Being fed, luckily, I had money when I first got locked up, and I was just buying everything from outside. There was a lot of corrupt guards there, so I could send the buy for like my cell. Right, me and the boys were locked in after 5 p.m. I'd call the guard through the window. We'd whistle at him. He'd come. I'd be like, "Listen, go get us, 5 cheeseburgers, 5 milkshakes, and here's $5 for you." And he'd run $5. They were making $180 a month over there when I got locked up. So, then eventually I learned, here, man, here's $40, bring me a bottle of Chivas Regal. Here's $50, bring me Johnny Black, Johnny Red. They would bring you anything because, I mean, think about it. I all the stuff I had in there, they would come in, they're like, oh my God, wow, look at those sneakers. Then, oh, I would get like care packages from the States, like Snicker bars, snacks. I would get magazines, like rap magazines, things like that. They would want to come inside the cell, sit down and read a magazine. They would want to look at the music videos I was getting sent. I mean, it was just sad because they make so little money and they have to be in there with all these criminals, you know? It's rough.
So as you're settling in, are you noticing the gang structure?
So in this small jail where I was, there really wasn't any gangs. There was just a small group of Colombians that really ran this jail and kept the control in there. When I say control, it means like, no fights, no showing weapons on visit days, because we would have visit days Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays, which was a big part of your sentence, right? Everybody wants to have their visit. So there was no violence, no bad words. They would let you drink alcohol, but you can't get out of line. Now, when I got transferred to the bigger prison about a year, about 11 months after I got to the small jail, I attempted to escape. I got caught, and they shipped me to the bigger prison. So I get to the bigger prison. Luckily, I already knew the people, a couple guys that were there, because I met them in the smaller jail in Tulcan when I first got to the small jail. So I get to the
Oscar,
bigger.
Oscar,
Yeah,
could you tell us how you attempted to escape first?
sure. So the problem was that since I had a little bit of money, I wanted to duplicate money, knowing that I was going to have a long sentence based on, everybody I spoke to. They were saying it's a minimum of 8, maximum 12 that you're going to get. And I just wanted to get ready for it. So when I was in a small prison, a small jail, I bought a store, I bought a pool table, and I bought some white, and I had it brought in because I wanted to supply the jail, right? So after about 2 runs of bringing in the white with a young lady that would come in and bring us the stuff in for a fee, there's on the third trip that she comes in, there was a search right when the visits were leaving the small jail. The police came in, invaded the jail, put everybody on the ground, and went and did a search. They find the white that I had stashed in the wall. Now, I didn't know, but if you're selling white inside and you get caught, it's an internal case, and internal drug trafficking brought a sentence of 12 years and this is in addition to whatever you're going to get for your original case. And I had no idea about that, and that was one of the biggest mistakes I made in my life. I got caught, and due to that, I spoke to the people that were in my cell. I said, listen, I'm about to get, the key locked and thrown away on me, because I was 20 and I'm looking at least, a 20-year sentence, because I have internal drug trafficking and the international. And I just, tried to convince them every day until everybody got on board, and they said, let's go, let's do it. And we're going to try to get out of here. So this jail is old, probably 150 years old when I was there. The walls are crumbling. It's not stable. And I was on the second floor. Now the second floor, you would say it's like a brick, not brick, but it's like concrete-ish, like rock, right? But since it's so old and it was built such a long time ago, you can chisel at this and it will start coming apart. As you're chiseling, if you start splashing water on it, it's even worse. It turns like into a plaster. It starts coming down. And that's what we started doing. We did it for several weeks. We made a hole big enough for us to get out. Now, one of the people that was in our cell was a guy from Spain. He was from Barcelona, but he weighed like 450 pounds, big guy, heavy set. And he couldn't come with us because he wasn't going to be able to scale walls and all that good stuff. So we had to sleep this guy. We got into the habit of every night after we got locked in the cell after 5 p.m., we'd make coffee or tea or, a milkshake and some sandwiches, and we'd give it to everybody. And we would knock him out, not every day because we didn't want him to get, catch on, but we would knock him out 2 or 3 times a week. And then we'd get to work. He was snoring, and we're working. So the day comes where we have a search, and this hole that we had in the wall, we get caught with it, and we get beat for about, I said, like 10, 15 minutes. They beat us with the batons. They ran over us with the boots. They were kicking us. It was craziness. And they locked up the cell. They had to do, obviously, had to do remodelation. They had to remodel the roof because we had made a huge hole in it. And that's it. Since I tried to escape, and pretty much, I think it was about a week later, they shipped me off to the bigger prison. I hadn't even been sentenced yet for either of my cases.
What had you heard about the bigger prison at that point?
I had heard it was great. I had spoken to people. I had contact with people that were there, and this, I had different reviews. Some said it was great. Some said it was hell. But I mean, no jail can be great or prison. The only thing is that, there's always certain moments. I know there's moments where we were partying, I was making liquor, we were having a blast, I had my visits, girlfriends, things like that. But there were also moments where, I was in fear of my life. I was locked in a cell, I was hiding, people were trying to kill me, trying to extort me. During strikes, there were several strikes I lived through, and you see people just, unalived. It was just things that were horrible inside. So we had good and we had bad, but to the extreme, if you know what I mean. We extremely partied and extreme. Sometimes it was like hell in there. During a strike, everything was lit on fire. It was blood streaming out of cells. I mean, it was chaos.
All right, let's go over this more slowly then. What was it like arriving there?
Arriving to the bigger prison. So I get there, since I know some people. When the cooks come to bring us breakfast, which was bread and like some oatmeal at the time, I gave them a note. I said, "Here, take this to Orlando, take this to Alex, the people I know down in the prison." And they took them the notes. Eventually, these guys came up to me and brought me like yogurts, Coke, bread, cheese, ham, all the good stuff. They brought me some greens so I'd be okay in there. And they spoke to everybody that was inside, because we're in like a holding cell, right? And there's people that are there for stabbings, that are people there for extorting other prisoners. There are people that are there, they're just being bad inside the prison, and you get sent there. So my boys came up and they were like, listen, please, Oscar's with us. Don't mess with him. He's good. And that's what happened. And eventually, I would say about 10 days after being there on hold, they put me down into the prison. And I also arrive around December. So when I get down to the prison, it's like party time again, because it's the end of the year. The visits are coming in December 24th. They sleep over till the 25th. Same thing on New Year's, party all day the 31st, visit, sleep in the cell inside the prison, and they leave the first at 5 p.m. I mean, just things that you would never think of. So I walk into my first cell, which is my friend Orlando that I met the first day in the smaller jail in Tulcan. He's walking me up to his cell. We walk in. It's beautiful. I was like, "What is this?" Nice painted white walls, big TV, PlayStation. He's got a microwave. I mean, he's got these beds that were concrete. Once he knocked down these concrete beds, he put two wooden queen size bed extensions. He's got huge mattresses. He's got a small refrigerator. I mean, it's like a mini apartment, huge mirror. He's got like colognes and everything you could think of is in this cell. So I'm shocked. I'm like, wow, this is great. And he's like, listen, what you got to do is the first thing you got to buy a cell. Let's go take a walk. So we walk the block. We're walking down, looking at cells. He said, look, open up this cell. This one's empty. It's gutted. Nobody lives here. You got to pay like $400 or $500, and then you could fix it up any way you want. He said, let me take you to this cell. We go to another one. This cell is all remodeled. It's beautiful. It's got a separation from the bathroom with, like wooden doors. It's like a mini apartment. That sells $2,000. It's all hooked up. It's got black lights. It's got the black posters for like psychedelic things. I mean, it's insane, right? Now I was in D wing the next day when the entire prison opens up, which means all the blocks unite. You can walk from your wing to any other wing inside the prison. So one of my friends was in C block, and he came to get me, and we go to his block. In there was even cells even better. They're $4,000 or $5,000 cells. They got marble floors. They got air conditioning. They got ceiling fans. They got there's carpeting on the floor. I mean, it was insane. They got a nice bakery inside the block, right at the entrance. There's like a straight up bakery with like the glass, and you got all the croissants and like I was like, what is this? Guy's making hot chocolate. He's making cappuccino for everybody. It's like a movie. But then we have people that are standing at the doors, which these guys are called the doormans to the block. Each block had one. And this guy's standing there, he's got a 38 in his waist. Like nothing. He's the doorman. He's just sitting there on a stool, taking care of the block. Any problems, he's got that on his waist. It's just crazy, right? And then eventually I would learn that about 60% of the population walks around like that. The other 40% walks around with big like butcher knives in their waist, small pocket knives. It was chaos. There wasn't really gangs when I was there like there is now. Now it's more controlled by the cartels. But when I was there, it was just small groups that they were out in the streets sticking up banks. They would take like Brinks trucks. They would hold them and they would take all the money. So those small gangs, they were like kind of united inside that bigger prison, but there really wasn't any gang structures when I was there.
So what was the first threat to you or dangerous situation you got in?
Let me see. The first dangerous situation, let's say the first dangerous situation that I saw was about 2 weeks after I was there. It was a visit day. My mother was there, and we're in B block and we're watching a soccer game, which was a tournament between all the blocks. Now we're sitting as spectators watching this game. I'm with my mother, and there's a scuffle over the ball, turns into a fist fight for about 5 seconds, and then someone pulls something out and pokes the other guy. He drops in front of everybody, and then the guy that did the poking runs off, and then the guy that fell, his friends run after him, and they just went crazy with the big butcher blades. And this is in front of visits. There's kids. There's on any given visit day inside this prison, there could be around 500 to about 1,500 visits inside. That's kids, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, grandmothers. Everybody's inside. It's like a small city inside. It's just crazy. So I would say that would be the first thing I witnessed. Now,
How did that feel watching that with your mom?
horrible, man. Just horrible. Um, my mother had to witness many things. I'm sad that she had to go through those things. Seeing that, having to go do the line at 6 o'clock in the morning with 400 or 500 people waiting to get in the prison. They treat you like you're garbage. They strip search you. All these different things that they do, and then all along, these people that are doing the searches are the same people that are bringing in everything to the prison. So why are we going through these extent searches on elderly women and kids and all this when we know that the problem was that all the guards are bringing in everything? You could pay a guard to bring you in anything you want.
So you've gone in there, you've established yourself, you've got friends, you've described the parties, and you've described these fancy cells that can be rented out for huge amounts of money. Now that you're starting to witness violence, is it starting to occur to you that there's a way more dangerous side than what you portrayed?
Yes, of course. I mean, any given day there could be an unaliving. There could be anything could happen at any time in any prison. That's the thing. Sometimes it's funny where you would get out of your cell and you could almost feel the tension or the darkness. Just it's like hovering above the spot you're at. I don't know if it's because so many people have passed there and all those like dark demons stay inside this prison, because I got to tell you, there was also ghosts and things of like crazy nature that we saw inside. I mean, this building that I was in, this prison, was made in, I believe it was 1867. It was constructed, if I'm not mistaken. And the amount of people that have lost their lives in there, gruesomely and tragically. So they just say that those souls stay there. And I got to tell you, I've witnessed this. I've seen things. I've heard locks moving around when there's no one in the block. After you're locked in, there's no guards around. You hear something outside. You put the mirror out. You could see there's nobody down the block because you're looking through a mirror. You could see. You put your hand out. There's nobody there. All of a sudden, the locks are moving. So a lot of paranormal things happen. I mean, it was just crazy.
What was the next dangerous situation you witnessed or threat to you?
So I went through around 3 strikes there. These strikes were crazy. The top dogs inside the prison would say that this is for the 2-for-1. 2-for-1 would mean, we're fighting to get back the 2-for-1 law. So if you get an 8-year sentence, you only have to do 4. Now, people were there for murder and they would get 16 years, they would only do 8. So all these people were, they would say they wanted to do the strike because of that, but it really wasn't because of that. It was more like a hunting season, 100%. It was just, small gangs against other small gangs, and then other people just hunting upon the weak, trying to find maybe a foreigner to stick him in a cell, extort him, make him call his family, get money out of him. There was people just robbing. People were everybody's masked up. All you could see is their eyes. They got T-shirts around their faces. They're walking around with 38s in their hands. I mean, they're setting everything on fire. So yeah, those were real horrific moments. Um, Moments that I wish nobody would ever have to live through. So this is why I also push all these stories, because people don't know that in South America, the jails and prisons are no joke. I could say, yes, we partied, we had all this good stuff, we lived well, but that's on a couple days. All right. I did thousands of days in prison, and 80% of them were horrible. I just want everybody to know that trafficking is not the way, and you can live a better life without doing that. That's for everybody.
Take us through the first strike and how you navigated it.
Yes, the first strike, since I was with people that were known there, basically same thing, masked up, everybody's masked up, you have a weapon on you, and you're walking through this small city with everyone else. I mean, it's chaos. So you got to get into the chaos. I say if you're in the jungle, you have to turn into an animal or you're going to be eaten. So basically that's what we did, right? Once you're in there, you got to learn to adapt, and that's what I learned how to do, and I believe I did it very well. Like there's a saying, navigate through a room full of vultures, and that's what I did for several years. And luckily, I'm here um, to tell my story, and for this not to happen to anyone else.
So during that first strike, then, what actions were the prisoners taking blow by blow? Know what that means? Ooh, I've been hearing that a lot lately. That's what I hear when we make another sale on Shopify, the all-in-one commerce platform to start, run, and grow your business. Shopify is the commerce platform revolutionizing millions of businesses worldwide. Whether you're selling Pokemon cards or hoodies, Shopify simplifies selling online and in person so you can successfully grow your business. Covering all your sales channels from a shopfront ready POS system to its all in one e commerce platform. Shopify even gets you selling across social media marketplaces like Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Full of the industry leading tools ready to ignite your growth, Shopify gives you complete control over your business and your brand without learning new skills in design or coding. And thanks to award winning help and with an extensive business course library, Shopify is ready to support your success every step of the way. What's lovely about Shopify is that no matter how big you want to grow, Shopify will be there to empower you with the confidence and control to take your business to the next level. It's time to get serious about selling and get Shopify today. This is Possibility, powered by Shopify. Sign up for a £1 per month trial period at shopify.co.uk/Sean, SHAUN, all lowercase. Go to shopify.co.uk/Sean to take your business to the next level today. Shopify.co.uk/Sean. Link in description box if you're watching this on YouTube. Thanks for supporting our sponsor. Back to the podcast. Cheers.
Actions, I mean, it was just, I would say, it was just chaos. I mean, Sean, to tell you the truth, no one was really fighting for a 2-for-1. They were just fighting to um, make money off themselves, right? So it was like the D block against the C block. C block had a lot of foreigners, a lot of people that were higher up in the drug games, say like Colombian narcos and things of that nature. There was also narcos from Europe, and the people from D or B block, they would go in, they would want to go and hunt these people down. There'd be gun battles. I mean, it just it was like movie type scenes, right? And nobody's really fighting for the 2-for-1, but they would say it was for that. And all along this chaos is happening, you have visits inside the prison with us. Just think about that. There's mothers, there's daughters, wives, kids in cells, while outside there's horrific things going on. You hear people screaming. There's just craziness and madness going on. There's fires being lit, there's cells being torn apart. I mean, it's 24/7. There's no gates that are locked. There's walls that people are trying to break through to get to the maximum security prison where the wealthy prisoners were that were millionaires, and they were like more for like white collar crimes, like scams and anything to do with like politicians. We broke through that wall. I even went in there. I took a refrigerator out, put it in my cell. So I mean, it was complete chaos. There was really no fighting for the 2-for-1.
So it's like the different areas of the prison are fighting against each other.
Correct. That's the way it was. You're absolutely correct.
And what about sex offenders? Did they get dealt with?
Yeah, sex offenders, if they're found, I mean, a couple of them got dealt with in a couple of those strikes. I know in the first two, I saw a couple of them on the ground, and that was normal. When things like on a normal day, there's a special block for those sex offenders, and they keep them over there, and they're like more protected on that side, and no one with a murder sentence or anything will go over there. So they have them separated from general population. But when it was a strike, everything unites. They break down walls. They're climbing over walls. It's chaos, and that's when those people get dealt with.
And did you actually see anybody get murdered during these strikes?
Oh yes, I saw several of those murders throughout the years. I saw them on strikes. I've seen it happen in person, feet away from me. I've seen people get shot. Um, I've lived through it. I've been through the wars there. I have several memories that are very bad. Several memories that make me wake up at night sometimes sweating, thinking about having these flashbacks of things that I lived through. But
Are you able to talk about seeing that, or is it too much for you?
no, I mean we could talk about it.
What was the first one?
I would say the first one was when I was with my mother at the soccer game. That was the first one I saw, right? And after that, I would say not too long, probably a month. We were in there's a circle where there's the doors to all the blocks. So there's like a huge circle where you cross through to go from D wing to B or from A to C. So it's like a huge circle, right? We call it the bomba. Now, when someone's going to come into the bomba, you can see them coming from any which way. Now, there was somebody that had a price on their head, and a lot of people knew about it. But this guy also, he thought he was somebody big, and he was probably packing something as well. So he decided to come out. He didn't really care. So he's walking. I'm standing in the bomba at the circle, waiting for someone to come in, and I see him cross through. He walks through, and all of a sudden, I just see a shadow run by me, and about 6 or 7 feet away from me, he just pulls out. Boom, 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 boom. The guy drops, and he just goes up to him, looks at him, makes sure he's gone, and then he just puts another one right in his head, walks up to the guards with the gun, hands it out, and says, "Here you go." And he's ready to go. You know why? Because he's already been paid for this. This guy is what we call come muerto inside the prison. These are people that eat the dead. So if you have a problem with somebody, you don't want to take care of it, you don't have a murder sentence or anything like that. You have a small sentence like I did. You don't want to get thrown away for the rest of your life. You can pay somebody to do this for you. So that's what that gentleman did, and that was a scary moment because I mean, we're in an enclosed area, and this guy's blasting about 7 or 8 shots feet away from me. You know, your ears go deaf. There's gunpowder everywhere because most of the times there was 38s inside because they're small. So they bring in the 38 snub nose because the guards or the police they could hide it very small pistol and then bring it in easily. So yeah, I mean, just crazy moments. Another moment was during a strike. One of my friends took me. He said, "Come on, let's go to the cell. I want to show you something." And he took me to the cell and he opened up the door and there was a guy in there. They had taken off part of his arm. It was on the floor. He was just, there was a stream of blood coming out. It was just crazy. Um, in 2005, I during this third strike, I did a tunnel. So me and my cellmates were making a tunnel while all this chaos was going on outside. We're working. This strike lasted about, I would say, 30 days. So we're working, we're doing this tunnel. We got far. And while we're digging, we actually came upon something that was already made and it was well done. So it saved a lot of time for us. And this is one of the reasons why this prison got shut down later because underneath it was like Swiss cheese. There was just tunnels everywhere. The foundation was about to just collapse. So comes just so happens that the strike is going to end and I get word that it's going to end and we have to start cleaning up because the inside of my cell is dirt everywhere. It's just dirty. We've been taking dirt and rocks out, so it was just crazy. So we started cleaning up, and one of my cellmates, he had a drug problem and he got into debt with somebody. He got into debt with a mafioso from B block. And what happened was he didn't have the money to pay and I guess they were probably torturing him inside the cell. And this kid gave up my tunnel. He said, "I know where there's a tunnel, just forgive my debt and I'll tell you where it is." And that's what he did. And then this mobster comes over to my cell and he comes with his hitters because there's people that, they have 25-year sentences and they don't care about anything. They run up in my cell, they put me on the bed, they got knives out and they're like, "Listen, we want the cell." I told him, I'm not giving it up. Let's do it together. We could leave. This is mine. I'm not trying to go to war with you, but I just want to get out of here. And don't tell anybody because this is new. I mean, if one more person finds out, it could be a sham. It could collapse. Just help me out. Let's do this together. The guy didn't want nothing about it. He wanted to take over my son. He wanted me out of there. So what he did was he told me you're gonna die. He paid one of his hitters, and one day on a visit day, I'm out and I go from my cell to a different cell to go to the bathroom. And I left my visit inside of my cell with a lock. Now, while I'm in the other cell going to the bathroom, this hitter comes in to take care of me. We fight. He stabs me a couple times. I push him out the door, and there's visits. People start screaming. There's a woman next to my right, and I'm wearing a white t-shirt and I'm all bloody. I got blood from scars on my he cut me on my arm, my guts, and I look down, there's like fat cells, they're like little grease balls, they're coming out of my stomach, and I just fainted on the ground. Bam. Somebody picked me up, they rushed me out, and I get out to the hospital. They sew me up and they bring me back to the prison that same day. Now they bring me back to the prison. I'm all bandaged up, right? I got bandages everywhere. I just been stabbed 3 times. I almost lost my life. And not only that, but I'm drugged out of my mind because they give me, the painkillers and all that stuff. And I get back to my cell, immediately go to arm myself because I know once I'm walking through that big circle that I tell you that all the blocks can see who's coming through. I'm walking through that big circle and I see this guy's hitters over there watching the circle, and they see me and I'm like, oh my God. I try to get back to my cell as quick as possible, close the door, and I'm just nervous. Now that night, this guy, what this mafioso did was he gave up my cell. He probably called one of his crooked guards and told him, "Look, there's a cell in D block, cell number 9. It has a tunnel in it. Go find it." So they come to my cell. And they tell me, "Hey, Gringo, come here. Stand in the doorway." So I stand in the doorway. I'm all bandaged up. I had just been stabbed earlier that day, and they find the tunnel. They immediately take out these wooden sticks. They start beating me with the wooden sticks. I'm all stitched up. They take me upstairs to the 4th floor where what we call the calabozo, it's the hole. I did a 45-day stint in the hole for that tunnel and was beaten several times for it as well.
Wow, man, this is getting really heavy now.
Yeah,
What
it
was
was.
what was your what was your plan for when you got out of the hole? Because were they going to come at you again, these guys?
Yeah, most likely. The thing was that once you get found with the tunnel like that, they're most likely going to transfer you to a different prison. So I was thinking about where I was going to get shipped to, right? And while I'm in the hole, I get someone to bring me up a cell phone, and I make a call to my parents, and they actually tell me, you know what, we're flying down next week to see what we could do. So they get there and they actually arrange for me not to get transferred to Guayaquil, which was hell on earth 10 times where I was. It was way worse. And they were planning on transferring me there. And my parents actually fixed with the director of the prison that I was at for them to send me to F block, which was the maximum security 22-hour lockdown block that they had there. So they paid, I don't know, it was probably $1,000 because that was the going rate for everything at that time, $1,000 for everything. And instead of me getting transferred to Guayaquil, the other 2 people that were in my cell, they got transferred to Guayaquil. I did not. I got transferred to F block, and once I was there, I met up with some people that now are running the country, which is insane as well. There's a guy named Fabricio Colon Pico. I did a year with him there, and he was recently captured in Ecuador. He was Ecuador's most wanted fugitive, and he's head of one of the biggest cartel gangs in Ecuador right now.
Wow. So what was it like then in this new prison, the new part of the prison?
It was hell on earth. You're there with a bunch of killers, and not too many happy faces. And it's 22-hour lockdown. There's nothing from the outside. You really get no food from the outside. You just have to eat the jail food. And this is straight up the way prison should be. You're there suffering. There's really no cell phones, there's no TVs, there's nothing. At night, there's just you and a little 2-inch mattress, and you don't have anything in your cell. I mean, there's no radio, no TV, there's nothing, no stove, no microwave. You don't have anything. It was the worst of the worst, and you're there with a bunch of psychotic killers that are also hooked on drugs, and all of us are drug addicts, right? Where there's heroin addicts, there's crack addicts. I mean, there's just horrible, really bad.
How many you were in the same cell together?
In this maximum security block you could be by yourself. There was 35 cells, and at the time that I landed there, I believe there was 22 of us. So this is where they send the worst of the worst of the country. You know, you intend to escape, or you murder somebody, you're extortioning, you stab. I mean, whatever you do, you get sent there.
Were your wounds healing okay?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, I believe they got infected when I was there. And I remember not wanting to go out to even take the stitches out because F Wing was so treacherous and so dangerous that I didn't want anybody to think that I'm going out to speak about anything that's going on inside there. That I just took out the stitches myself with, you know, like I think it was like a knife that I had. Or no, no, no. You know what I did it with? You know, tuna, it comes with that can that peels open. That sharpened it, and that's what I took the stitches out with. I mean, it was just crazy.
How old are you at this point of the story?
This point, I would say I was 25.
And are the extreme conditions causing you to reflect on your past behavior at this point? Or are you still too immature?
I believe I was just too immature. I was too immature. I believe I was still like living a movie. I felt like, you know, I really never felt I was going to get out of there. To be 100% honest with you, I thought I was going to die, you know, a gruesome death there one day. And that's just the way it was going to be because I had seen it and I knew the politics inside. And by the time I was let go, I was running with some pretty big and dangerous people. And at the end of the day, if a war were to pop off at those times, you'd have to be in 100%. So what I mean by 100% is you'd have to be willing to grab a gun and go after the enemy because that's what we're doing. And if you're not doing it, then you're not part of our crew, basically, right? So I never thought I was going to get out, especially at the end where, you know, they sent me again to F block, and that's where I went free from because I was extorting once I got back to the original prison. It just became an animal. You know, I was selling things, I was extorting new prisoners, I was backed by some powerful guys and people that had 25-year sentences. So I pretty much thought I was invincible because it's like having a bodyguard that's willing to take a body for you, right? And if you have a little bit of cash, they work with you, and then you're able to do some things as well. Like you can move this, you can move that. I sold liquor. You know, I have pictures of me inside my cell making liquor. My mother's in the cell with me on a visit day. You know, we're just crazy things.
How
But I
long
think
was your first how long was your first stay in F block?
my first day in F block was from March 2005 till February 2006
And why were you moved?
because there's only I think there's like a 6 month max period, but sometimes it extends. So after 6 months, they start looking where to move you because there's always more people coming in because there's people constantly committing different crimes inside, right? So it was getting kind of packed up and they shipped me out. Now, later on down the line, right before I went free, well, 2007, I was just going crazy. I was doing all kinds of things inside the prison and I was just getting up with the wrong people and just became an animal like them, pretty much extorting, selling things, and just trying to like run the block with these other guys. Now I get a bunch of slips dropped on me, like they say in the States, which is people that are talking about what you're doing. So me and my crew, we all get shipped back to F block, and we get there, and this is where I end up doing the last 9 months of my term. So I get shipped to F block in January 2008, and I went free September 26, 2008.
And how easy is it to get guns in there?
Very easy. With cash, anything's possible. So a 38 will cost you $300. 9 millimeter, they'll charge you 500. I'm giving you prices back in the day. Now I'm sure it's much more expensive. Any type of knife, they'll charge you $20. Liquor depends on what kind of liquor it is, but back in the day, it was like between $40 and $100. They would bring you in, bottles of whiskey and rum or whatever the case may be.
And did all the weapons have to be hid well?
Yes, I mean we all had stashes in our cells and things in the walls. I had stuff inside the TVs. I mean, I would have stashes in different cells, like my liquor. We'd make tubs of liquors in buckets, and we would have to let it ferment. So I would pay, what we'd say, crackheads to hold the buckets for me. So I would put like 2 buckets in cell 6, 2 buckets in cell 1. I might have a bucket in my cell, and then Saturday comes, which is visit day. I lock myself inside my cell and I'm brewing all day. I got somebody outside of my cell watching for, what guard's coming. They would let me know, hey, Oscar, the Tulio's coming, this guard. All right. I go to the window with $1. Every single guard gets $1. And then the chief of staff would get 10. And he would let me do whatever I wanted. Like myself, there was probably 200 or 300 other people doing the same thing, selling green, selling white, selling liquor. They're all doing the same thing. So the guards are going throughout the prison on visit day, going cell to cell, getting their money from everybody. That's how they lived.
And what about the gangs at this point? Was that more obvious?
There was really no gangs structure at the moment. The cartels hadn't hit the prisons yet. So the gangs were not heavy. It was more like small groups that were friends, but there was nothing like there is now, that now all the gangs are separated by blocks. Like there's a gang called the Tigers, there's a gang called the Wolves, and they're all in separate blocks and they're sworn enemies and they can't be together. It didn't exist like that when I was there, but now it's like that.
And the guards, it sounds like they could bring anything in. Was female guards having sex with the prisoners?
Yes. Yeah. It's funny you brought that up. In F Wing, both of my stays there, I had friends that were with female guards there. Insane. Coming
And
into the cell, yes.
and did they have like lasting relationships with them, or did the prisoners snitch them out? Because
Yeah,
people
no,
get
no, no.
jealous, don't they?
No, it'd be a lasting. I mean, when I was there, the two that I saw happen, they were lasting relationships throughout the whole time that we were there. Insane. And not only that, but her husband, one of these guards, her husband was actually a guard in the same prison, and she's sleeping with somebody that's in the maximum security wing, and he's a murderer.
Wow.
Crazy.
Was it your parents visiting you or anybody else?
No, it was just my parents, and then I had several girlfriends that women that I met throughout my time in prison, and yeah, I always had a visit, always.
How did you meet women from the prison?
So the first small jail in Tulcan, there was women prisoners there. I had a relationship with several women that were in that prison, in that small jail, and then when I got to the bigger prison, say like my cellmates coming, his visits coming in. His wife came in, she met me, and she's like, "Oh, I got a cousin that might want to meet you. I'll bring her next time." She came in, we met, girlfriend boyfriend thing, and then you're there. There's women that come into the prison just to look for prisoners. It's insane, but it's the truth. They go into this place like if it's an amusement park, right? Because they know there's parties, they know there's restaurants inside, they know that there's narcos inside that might have money. They know that there's foreign prisoners in there. Like a lot of groups say that like, they were hermanitas, like they would say like their sisters, like part of the church, things like that. They would come in, bring food, but they would want to meet only the foreign prisoners, right? Like they never wanted to see the Ecuadorians or the Colombians. They would only want to see like Americans, people from Switzerland, people from Hungary, people from Italy. They would go like take them bread and milk and maybe some cash. I mean, yeah, it was crazy.
So can the male prisoners go into where the female prisoners are living and vice versa?
In the huge prison that I was in Quito, no, there was no women prisoners in that prison. In the smaller jail that I was first in, yes, that small jail, I could pay $20 and I could go into the women's side all day, have have a party all day on the women's side, then come back just before lockdown.
Who was the most dangerous prisoner you ever encountered?
The most dangerous prison I ever encountered. I mean, that's very easy for me. I would have to say lagarto. So that's Spanish for crocodile. This guy, he was like the devil, man. You would look into his eyes, he had no soul, he had no shine in his eye, and he was just ruthless. And I was in his presence many times in F block maximum security and in the regular prison. And he just had a way of talking to people and convincing them to commit murders for him. He was just I thought he was the devil. I never thought he would get murdered, but eventually small group of people took care of him. But this guy had the whole prison walking around on eggshells because he had money and he had people on the outside. So people would come up to guards and be like, "Listen, you got to take this into to Lagarto. You got to take this," and they would do it. And inside, they would run for him because if they didn't, like, I mean, he was taking care of a lot of people inside. He would extort. So I'm gonna give you a small story about this guy. I met him in F Wing, right? I'm not gonna say we were ever friends. We just knew each other. I've hung out with him. We've played volleyball together. But this guy he's a psychopath and he's a serial killer. So pretty much I get moved to E block after my first stint in F block. I get shipped out around after 6 or 7 months. I get moved to E block. It's a closed in um, pavilion. So I get there and I get into the cell of this kid named the $1 Million Kid. In Spanish is Chico del Millón. So I get there. This kid's well known. He puts together robberies on the outside, even though he's still in prison. He's still doing work. He's got connections outside. I don't know how, but that's what he does. He lives well, great cell. You could tell this guy's got money, big TVs, 2, 3 cell phones. He's getting food, getting brought in. So this guy's living well. So I get to his cell. He knows me. He knows I'm coming from F Wing. He knows I've been there for years. So he receives me, no problem. And about a month later, someone comes up to me while I'm walking the yard and they're like, "Hey, take this phone and go upstairs. You're gonna get a call from Lagarto." I said, "Okay." So I grab the phone and I go upstairs. I'm like, "What does this guy want?" So I pick up the phone and he's like, "Hey, what's going on?" He's like, "I know you live with the $1 Million Kid, and I need you to do me a favor." And I was like, "What?" He said, "Tomorrow morning at 6 a.m., I need you to open up the door and just walk out. Leave the door open. Giovanni's going to come in. He's going to take care of this guy." And I said, "What? Why?" He said, "Listen, man, this guy had my brother set up on the outside. I know you saw it on the paper. There was this big thing with, ex penal Garcia Moreno prisoners just freed were found tortured inside of this house. So what happened was a group of people went and did this robbery at a bank, and then they went to the stash house to, divvy up the money. While they're divvying up the money, the police raid it and murder everybody inside. So this comes out in the paper, and this guy Lagarto, one of his brothers, was in on that robbery, and he thinks that my celly, the $1 Million Kid, is working with the cops to get rid of all these bad guys that are coming out to do these robberies. He thinks he's working with the police now. So he tells me, "You got to open up the door." And what am I going to do? I can't say anything. This guy's he's got hitters all throughout the prison, in my block, in all different blocks around. So I said, "Okay." Now, I've been living with this kid. We eat together every day. And, you create a relationship with that guy because you're with them. But I can't say a word because if I say it, the next person is going to be me. It's going to be both of us in the cell. That night I'm in the bed. We're hitting the J. Bam. I'm passing him. I'm looking at him in the mirror. He's below me in the bed. And I'm just like, man, I can't believe I got to open this door up now. And this guy's going to just do it to him tomorrow. So the next day comes, bam. I'm like, I probably didn't even sleep that night. I was nervous. I get down. Once the lock's taken off my door, I get off the bed and I open up the door. I go out, and this guy Giovanni's not there. So I'm like, what? I go upstairs. I'm like, "Giovanni, what happened?" He's like, "I don't know. I'm not feeling it. I didn't want to do it today. We'll do it tomorrow." All right. Later on that day, we get a call from Lagarto again. He's like, "What happened?" I said, I don't know. I opened up the door. Here's Giovanni. And Giovanni was like, all right, I'll do it tomorrow. So that same night, we sit down. Me and Giovanni, the $1 million kid, this other kid named Angel, and one of my friends named Lenny. We're sitting down, we're eating. And tomorrow, this is gonna happen to this guy. I can't say a word. Nobody else knows besides me and Giovanni. So next day comes, I jump off the bed, I open up the door, I walk out, this kid's not there again. And now I'm like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Lagarto's gonna go crazy, and he's probably gonna send somebody else to take care of us all. Or maybe 2 or 3 guys. I don't know. I mean, it's really corrupt there. He could probably talk to a guard and be like, listen, I need you to let a couple guys pass from B to E, open up the gates for them, and then they'll come in and just take care of you. So I went upstairs. I'm like, listen, what's going on? He said, no, man, I'm not going to do it. I'm tired of being this kid's robot. I'm not going to do it anymore. Forget it. It's not happening. So I was like, all right, man. He said, listen, if he sends somebody here, he's like, you just got to help me take care of him and I'll take the charge. Because over there, it could be 2 or 3 people that take care of somebody. As long as there's one person that says, I did it, the guards will be like, okay, he did it, and they'll let everybody else go. So he's like, you got to help me out. If he brings anybody here, we'll do it. And I was like, oh my God. Another situation I'm in, now I'm going to have to take care of somebody inside the prison right before I'm going to go free. Right? Because I know I got an 8 year and some change sentence. It's 2007. I'm close. And I'm like, oh my God. So 2 days go by, and what happens? My friend Giovanni has a brother in a different prison. So this guy Lagarto has his brother murdered in a different prison. Insane. This guy had so much power. Now, that action that he did, having Giovanni's brother taken out in a different prison, eventually got him murdered. While he was in F Block, the people that were there were friends with Giovanni and just couldn't believe that Lagarto took care of his brother like that. And at the end of the day, they were like, listen, man, if this guy did that to Giovanni, he's going to probably do it to all of us. So they were like, forget it, man. We got to take care of this guy. And they did. They got him with 38s. They shot him up. They took off his ears like as a prize, right? I mean, they left this guy without ears. They came out in the paper. I have the clips if you want me to send them to you just so you could see them. I mean, I have tons of pictures and clips of escapes and everything that I went through. If you want me to send, I could send them over. But yeah, crazy stories, man.
Wow. What was the next craziest situation you got in like that?
Oh man, let me see. After that, I got shipped to F Wing for the extortions, and while I was there, a group of mafiosos in Guayaquil in this bigger prison shot up an opposing block, right? So what happened was these guys called Russos, the Russians, because they're not Russian, they just look Russian. They're huge, they're big white guys. They had like the spiky hair, they were like all bald on the side. So they call them the Russians. They were all tatted up. And these guys are straight killers, walk around with guns all day, and they shoot up another block, and then they all get shipped here to Quito, Ecuador, where I am. Now I'm in F Block with these guys that they are enemies with the Russians. So what happens? They get word from the guards because there's crooked guards inside. They call the head guy in F Wing, the maximum security. They're like, hey, the Russians just arrived. They're in the hole, and they're going to F Wing either today or tomorrow. We're just letting you know. So now this guy hangs up. He starts calling everybody, hey, meeting. So everybody in the wing comes to the cell. He's like, listen, he's like, the Russians are here. They had a shootout in Guayaquil. They're in the hole up on the 4th floor in the penal, and they're going to bring them here either today or tomorrow. You guys ready? As soon as they come in, we're going to kill them all. No matter what, we got to take care of them. We're going to do it in the patio. We're not going to even let them walk in the block. So that's what's going to happen. And nobody says a word. This guy's giving direction. It's not like he's asking us. And after that, who's got knives? Everybody's got one. Who doesn't have one? Raise your hand. Bam. All right. He starts writing down. He's calling guards. Listen, I need 5 knives, 16 inches. Oh my God. And then he got all the knives in. We're all outside in the patio waiting. Supposedly they're going to bring them off today. Everybody outside. I want everybody outside in the yard. Everybody's knifed up, and we're just all waiting for them to bring these guys in. My head, I'm like, you're going to commit a murder now. You're going to go home and you have to commit a murder now because these guys are enemies. You have to do it. Or what are you going to do? I have to do it. Thank God these guys got to the gates and they refused to come in. They knew what was going to happen. Obviously, they come to the gates and they see, because you have to walk in when they open the gate for you to walk into the 22-hour lockdown maximum security. You have to walk in through the yard to get to the cells. We weren't going to even let them get to the cells. They were going to go down in the yard. And that's what was going to happen. And they knew, they weren't stupid. These guys have been at war for years. So they refused to go in. They refused and refused. And they just, they basically fought with the guards there because they told them that they were going to try to get them murdered. They're not going in. And the police came and took them back. But yeah, crazy moment. I thought something was going to happen and something that I didn't want to happen because, I'm not that type of person.
Wow. And you were getting close to your release at this point as well.
I
So
was months away.
Was it just challenge after challenge as it was getting closer to your release? Did it just seem to get crazier?
Just crazier. I mean, to me, the biggest challenge was being free for the last 3 months and not being able to let anybody know and having to keep it a secret because you don't know what could happen there. Someone could be jealous of you that you're going free, because I'm around people that got 2 25-year sentences, 3 25-year sentences. These are people that are not going home. They're staying there forever. This is their house. I'm just as coming through as a visitor. But, there's also, you might think somebody's your friend, but friend's a strong word. And in prison, friends don't really exist. It's hard to come by them.
As you're getting to know these people, are some of them telling you their backstory, like their crime stories, like how they ended up getting in there? Were there any crazy stories you heard like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you one crazy story of somebody that I believe could have saved my life at the end right before I left. I got so frustrated with somebody. I was planning to, I really wanted to get into a knife fight over drugs. I was already free and nobody knew. And this kid grabbed me. He took me to his cell. He was the guy that was in charge of F Wing. And he told me, listen, because I had to tell him, I was like, bro, I'm going to go free. And he was like, what? So he grabbed me and he took me into his cell. And I was like, oh, no, I messed up. I should have never told this guy. And he sits me in his cell and he said, listen, you're going to go free and you want to go fight with a knife with this kid over some drugs? He said, listen, I'm going to let you stay in here for 5 minutes. But think about this. You see me, I'm never leaving here. So remember that I'm your mirror. If you want to stay here with me forever and live and die in a war inside this prison, I'll come back in 5 minutes and I'll give you the knife and I'll go with you and I'll make sure nobody gets in between you two. And you can fight till whatever you want or till you die. You think about that. And he left me there and I cried with the emotions I had, right? Because number one, I'm a drug addict. I wanted the stuff that he took from me. And I was just frustrated. I was free. They didn't let me go. So, just all these emotions. You got PTSD. I got all, my head's all messed up inside this place. And he came back and he was like, all right, you ready? And I was like, look, man, you're right. Thank you. Thank you for not letting me go do what I wanted to do. Because he could have easily just been like, here, kid, take that. And I would have went, maybe I would have been murdered. I wouldn't be here talking to you today, but he was like a friend. So this guy, he was arrested for an armed robbery on a Brinks truck that was transporting money, right? So they robbed the truck. They take like $200,000. They get arrested like 3 weeks later. They've blown the money, whatever. He gets arrested. He gets a 6-year sentence. And he gets brought to F Wing in the year 2003 because it was a big case. Him and his boys did this. It was like 4 of them. So he gets brought there and he's like me. He's a tall white kid, but he's Ecuadorian. But he just, in Ecuador, when they see that you're like a white guy, they think you're soft, right? They think only that Ecuadorians with the brown skin are like the tough guys. So they see a white guy and they're like, oh, this kid's soft. So somebody started extorting him. Now, the guy that was extorting him was this guy named Carranza, and he was well known in the prison, and he was extorting my friend. He had just gotten there, and he said, every time your visit comes, I want $20. And every time his visit come, he would have to give him $20. And just so happens that this kid, he got sick of it, and one day he came up to him in front of his visit. So my friend's sitting there with his wife and his daughter, and he said, "Listen, if you don't give me the $20 you owe me from last week and the $20 from today, I'm gonna kill you when we get inside." So he threatened his life in front of his wife and his daughter, and he had it. He called somebody on the other side of the prison, and he had them throw a book bag with a 38 snub and a small knife in it. Now they're in the patio and they throw this book bag, and he grabs the book bag, opens it up, and just runs after this guy, and he just starts, and the gun doesn't go off. It's clicking, click, 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 click. It doesn't go, and he's like, "Oh my god!" And he throws it at him, and then he just pulls out the knife and he runs and he like jumps over him. The guy was so scared he grabbed the guard and was trying to shield himself with the guard, and he like jumped over and he just boom, and in front of everybody in the patio, he took care of this guy. Now this kid had a 6-year sentence, but since he did what he just did in front of everybody, all the guards, the visits, everybody, he got a 25. And that's where his story starts, because that was his first 25. And then I saw him take care of several people after that. Just kept going, and he just started moving up. He just started getting bigger and bigger. His fame got huge. You know, all the drug dealers would send him whatever he wanted. Any jail or prison that he would land in, he would, call up, who's selling here? Bring them to me. What you got for me? Right? Because everybody had to report to him, but in a nice way, not in like, oh, give me what you got, but what you got for me, right? Because I took care of this guy that was manhandling everybody here, right? So sad story, man. He had a 6-year sentence, and then he ended up taking the 25, and it just went on from there. It's just very sad.
So hearing their backstories then, what their life was like before they came to prison, did it open your eyes a bit as to like the poverty and the backgrounds of these people?
Yeah, most definitely. Because me as a child here, I probably had the life that every kid over there would want or would desire. Speaking to this guy that took care of this guy in the patio, he grew up without a father, just him and his mom. He was raped as a kid by his uncle. He ended up murdering his uncle years later as a 13-year-old. He said nobody ever found out. He dumped him in some river by the house. I don't know. I mean, their lives are so much more different, right? And then me listening to what they went through and thinking back on my life, just like, man, what are you doing? Like, you had everything. I had a great family, great mother and father, beautiful examples of, just beautiful human beings, because all they ever wanted for me was the best. All they ever wanted me was to study, to become somebody. But I chose to go down the wrong path. So, I mean, a lot of people say, oh, it might be the parents' fault. No, it's not the parents' fault, because you choose what you want to do. I was 14, 15, but when I was 16, I knew I wanted to go to Colombia to traffic. I knew I wanted to do it. So it's not because, your parents, my parents were working every day. They were the best examples I could have had. And they always gave me everything. I never needed anything. I always had the best sneakers, the best clothes, you know, took me everywhere, Disney World, movies. I mean, they gave me everything I ever wanted. So there's no way I can blame them. I did to myself what I did to myself was just stupidity, because I'm watching these movies, I'm listening to this rap music, and I think I'm living the life. I think I'm doing what they're rapping about, because now I got, 10, $15,000 in my pocket, or I'm going to pick up this, or I'm going to take money here. I got a money counter at the apartment. We're counting 50, 60,000, right? You think you're cool, but you're not. What's cool is to go to work, be a family man, take care of your family, live a great life, not having to look over your shoulders, worried about the police. That's a great life. That to me is gangster. That to me is being cool.
Was there any programs, education, religious services, any attempts to help these guys like read and write?
Nothing, man. I mean, I'll tell you, there wasn't even books there. And I'll tell you, the embassy. Let me speak about the American embassy real quick.
Yep, go for it.
The American embassy would bring us shampoo and soap from all the hotels that they stay in. That's what they would bring me. They would bring me the magazines from the lobbies of these hotels, and they would bring me these vitamins called Centrum. I don't know if you ever seen them. There were Centrum bottles. It's like 21 vitamins in one, something like that. Orange capsule. They would bring it, and when I would grab the bottle, I'd look at the expiration date. It would be expired. That's what the American embassy would bring me. So the first like 2 years, I would go out and see him. They're like, "Oh, how are you? Like, how do you think I am? Look, you want me to show you my stomach? You want to see the scars? How do you think I'm doing in here?" And then I just got frustrated with them. And one day they called me out, and I was having a bad day. I went out and just flipped out on them. I was like, "Don't you ever fucking come back here? Don't you ever call my name? I don't want to see you, and take your vitamins and shove them up your ass because you guys are worth nothing." They never called me again. Oh man.
So you described the one time, you got stabbed and stuff. Did you get stabbed a second time, or was it just the once?
No, just once. Just once. Once I got stabbed. Been in a couple of shootouts inside. I was kidnapped once and held in a cell for like 10 hours. I got
What was
beat.
what was the kidnapping over?
Oh, they were trying to get money out of me, trying to extort me. They grabbed my cell phone. So they grabbed my phone. They were like, "Bam, give me the code." They were beating me. I was tied up. They did what they call the Aquaman over there. So they put a towel over my face. I was tied up to a chair. They put me, all the way back. And on the towel, they would put soap, like powdered soap, like you wash clothes with, on the towel. And they would be dumping water on me. It was just, I would just, I was throwing up and I had diarrhea for like the next week. It was all the watered soap that I swallowed. And they were calling my mother. They're like, "Look, we're gonna send your son in a box. We're gonna send him in pieces." And then, they would have me with the water, and I'm just like, ah, and my mother's listening to all this because they called her from my phone. Just craziness, man.
How did you get them to back off?
Well, it was the end of the day, and then we're just in a different block. I mean, like I told you, each block is different. I thought I was good to go walk this block by myself. It was early on when I first got to this bigger prison in Quito, and they had told me, they warned me, "Don't go anywhere by yourself." I woke up early and I wanted to go to this bakery that was in B block, and I go to this bakery. I thought I was good. I went to go get some chocolate and some bread, but I guess somebody saw me and they came down. And when I'm sitting there about to get my stuff, boom, I get guns pulled on me. They take me to a cell with a gun, and I walk in the cell and they start wrapping up my hands with cables and like strapping me to a chair. And that day was about, I think it was like 8 or 9 hours. And I remember they had this knife with this the handle was metal, but it was really heavy. And with this knife, he would just hit me with this metal handle all on my head. He just bam, bam. And my head had all these like little golf balls. And not only that, but the worst part was I was tied with my hands behind my back like this, right? And I didn't know when it was going to happen, but somebody would just hit me from behind like this, right in my ears. So they bam, bam, and they would hit me here. And I remember just all I heard for days was like the beep. My ears were all swollen. Oh man, the worst torture of my life. Crazy. That's
As
actually the
this
first time I've ever talked about anything torturous or anything is on your pod, because I try to give the same story just with a little twist to everybody else. This is the first time I'm talking about this with you, though.
Man, that is really scary. They've
Yeah,
got you at gunpoint. They're tying you to a chair.
yeah.
What's going through your head at that point?
No, I just thought I was gonna die. I mean, what else could you think? I know there's no way that anyone's gonna get me out. And oh, listen to this. My boys are yelling my name. White boy, Oscar. People are screaming. I hear them screaming for me because they're looking for me. They know something happened, right? And my dumbass decided to go get breakfast in a different wing. I could have just waited, right? No. So I hear my boys walking around the block yelling for me, and I can't say I got something wrapped around my mouth, got a towel on me. I'm all the way in the back of the cell by the bathroom. These people are dumping buckets of water on my face. My mother's on the cell phone. They're like, listen to your son, send that money. He's going to die. We're going to send him to you in a box, chopped up in pieces. So just, craziness.
Who was your closest friend or friends in prison?
Oh, man. Friends is hard, man. I mean, I had some acquaintances that, you know, some acquaintances that I met and I could say that we're friends now is my friend Lenny Estrella. So he's Dominican. He's from the Bronx. He lives here in New York, and we met after we got out of prison again. We were in prison together. He was an American just like me down there. He went through his problems. He has a whole crazy another story, and he is inspirational to me as well because I look at him and I see what he went through. I see the lifestyle he lived in prison, all the bad things that happen, you know, attempted murders, strikes, and all he didn't have visit, things like that. I see, and now I see him as a very accomplished man. He works for the same company for a whole bunch of years. I don't want to say the name because I'll leave that up to him if he wants to come out on the pod and talk about it. But I mean, to me, he's an inspiration, man, because what we went through and to come out and to be on top. I mean, we're not millionaires, but we live good lives. We're hardworking people, and we have our family, and we're alive. You know what I mean? And that's what it's all about. So to me, his story is an inspiration. He just got promoted. He's a night manager now for this huge company. He's making close to six figures. To me, that makes me happy, man. I just love to see that.
Would you say that the intensity of the environment made you bond with some of these people for life?
Yeah, of course. Yes, most definitely. I mean, we have a small group. I have someone that's in Hungary. I have someone that's in Estonia. I have someone that lives in the Bronx here. We all keep in communication. I have somebody that just recently came that we were together over there in Ecuador. He lives in Brooklyn now. He's working construction. He's a rehabilitated man. I love to see this because I know that we were criminals. We were living and leading the wrong life. But throughout our life experiences, we were able to see that that life doesn't lead you anywhere good. There's no, there's nothing. My father always told me, you're going to end up in prison or in the cemetery. That's the only two ways out. So pick which one you want to do because there's only one left door and a right door. He said, you see me, I work hard, I come home, and that's it. You need to do the same thing. But I just never listened to him. I never understood it.
Do you want to take us through the day of your release?
Oh man. Day of my release. So my release wasn't that great because I thought I was going to get taken out of F block maximum security and straight to the airport. They take me out of F block by surprise. They come, immigration's there. They're like, "Oh, come here, we're taking you out." Boom, boom. They take me out. I was like, "Oh my god!" Everybody was in shock, and I was like, "God, thank the Lord! I can't believe I'm leaving the worst block in the country with the worst people, and I'm leaving." It was such a sunny day. It was amazing. But they take me out. They take me to immigration, and then I get there, and they're like, "All right, so you have to buy a plane ticket." After 7 years in prison, I have to pay for the plane ticket. I've been in prison all the time. Where do you expect me to get money? Well, that's on you. And then I get to immigration and they put me in the cell and I see a bunch of people that were in the prison with me throughout the years. And one guy's like, this kid from Romania, I'll never forget. He's like, bro, I've been here for 6 months. Like, what? 6 months? And they don't just deport you on a plane. He said, no, I need a plane ticket. And he's like, he's working for the guards. This is how much they trusted him. We would send this kid that's been there for 6 months out to the street to go buy his food. He'd go to the supermarket and he'd come back. The police officers and immigration were using him to go buy cigarettes and all this good stuff. This kid couldn't go home because he didn't have a plane ticket. I mean, how absurd is that?
So how did you get the money for the ticket?
I had to call my sister. Luckily, she worked at the airport and she was able to get me my plane ticket back. And it was scheduled for a morning flight. I got here at say late afternoon, and as soon as I walked out of the tunnel from the airplane, to my left was my sister. I saw her, I hugged her. I was so happy. She's like, "Oh my God, you're so skinny." I said, "Yeah, I weighed 160 pounds." I had just done the last 9 months in the maximum security wing, which was 22 hours lockdown. I was pale, and had no sun, because when I would come out, the sun would be hitting just one corner of the yard. So we had to all run over there and stand together in the corner to get a little bit of sun for like half an hour until the sun moved, and then the the um, the walls were blocking the sun and wouldn't come into our yard. It was just ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, it was a great day. I saw my sister, and she was like, "Come on, Dad's over here." Mom, boom, walked down and saw my whole family, cousins and aunts and uncles. I mean, it was crazy, man. It was just the best day of my life.
What was it like to see your mum at that point?
Oh man, amazing. I just broke down and cried. I mean, there's really no words for the feelings that I had emotionally. There was just a lot of tears, a lot of hugs, and just a lot of I can't believe it. And my sister's like, "What do you want to eat?" I was like, "Take me to McDonald's." I haven't had McDonald's in 7 years. Oh my god, it was hilarious.
How long did it take you to adapt?
To adapt to what? Outside life, being
Yeah,
free.
yeah.
I tell you, I didn't have much time to adapt because when I got back, my family's economical situation was not that good. So I said, let me just take a month to recuperate, because I was really skinny and I still had probably drugs in my system, because I was doing white till the day I got let go. Everybody was doing something where I was, for the day to go by quicker, because we're just all locked in a cell 22 hours a day. And so yeah, that's what I did. Recuperated for about a month, and then just started going out looking for jobs, walking here, walking there, because I was like a newborn baby. No car. I came back. I didn't have no clothes. When I walked off the airplane, my sister's like, "Let's go get your luggage," and I was like, "Luggage? I don't have no luggage." She's like, "What do you mean? You don't have a handbag? Nothing?" I was like, "No, I just had a little small bag, which had deodorant, toothpaste, a toothbrush, my all my documents that I signed, and all the pictures that I had from my stay in prison, like all the pictures I had inside, making liquor and all this other stuff. And that's it. That's all I had. Just a small bag and whatever I had on. And what I had on was from another prisoner, because I gave away all my stuff. I mean, these guys are staying there for the rest of their lives, or however long they have there, right? I was going free. I don't want anything. Anything I'm taking from there, it's going in the garbage anyway. So I came back with absolutely nothing, just like a newborn baby. And I got back September 26, 2008, and December 8th, 2008, I got my first job. And that's where we just started from there, man.
And did you get your own place easy enough?
Yeah, it took me about 6 months, but yeah, no problem. Actually got an apartment with a girl that I met, I believe at a club or something. We met, we started going out, and we got an apartment together. And then I moved into a different job. I was driving trucks and making a little bit more money, and then just little by little started progress. Just trying to get better day by day.
Weren't you having nightmares or flashbacks about what you'd
Oh,
been through?
yeah, most definitely, all the time. Still happens. I mean, it's been 14, 15 years since I got out, but just a lot of traumatic situations, a lot of things that I lived through, things that I saw. um these are just things that can't be erased from your memory. you know People talk about going to war, people come back from Afghanistan, Iraq with PTSD and all these things, and I understand it. I might not have been you know in the war field, but I was at war inside of a prison, where you're in very close proximity to your enemies, and it's a constant battle. It's a constant just like a fear inside, because you never know what's going to happen. It's a constant knot in your stomach when you wake up, like, what's going to happen today. It was just, you're walking on eggshells no matter what. Even if you're partying, anything could happen.
And have you had any help with that, like professional medical help, or do you do like working out and stuff like that to stay sane?
Yeah, the only way I stay sane is by staying busy, Sean. To tell you the truth, I love to stay busy. I do a couple things with my wife. I've always done multiple things at once, and that's what I do. And this, now that my wife convinced me to talk to the world and tell them my story and get it out there, because we don't want anybody else to live through what I went through, right? because I was a young kid. I was manipulated by some 40 some old Colombian that saw a young kid with a you know, he saw me and he saw dollar signs. He just said, "This is going to be the kid that's going to bring me my money." So I might have had a good time with him then. We were good, we were friends, whatever the case may be. But now looking at it as a 40-year-old man, this guy was a scumbag. He just manipulated a teenager to go bring stuff from Colombia and didn't care about any of the consequences and didn't care what happened to me after I got caught. And neither did none of the people that I was rolling with then. So this is for the kids out there that think they're cool and they're rolling with gangs and they want to be the tough guy, the starter that's going to go and start busting at somebody because they're doing it for the gang. Let me tell you this, kids, that when you end up in jail or prison, nobody's going to be there for you except your family. And only your family's going to suffer with you. So do right for your family now. Study, get a career, get a job, stay away from drugs. Just say no, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. You could lose your life. And not only that, my biggest fear when I was locked up, will I lose my family while I'm here? I was 8,000 miles away. What if I lost my mother or my father? I couldn't come out to see him. That was my biggest fear.
That's interesting, Nick, so that your wife encouraged you to tell your story. Were you enthusiastic about that or reluctant at first?
The thing is that, after the pandemic hit, we started watching a lot of YouTube, seeing a lot of podcasts about certain people. And right now in the podcast world, I see a lot of people that have been to prison or gotten in trouble, like these Italian mafiosos. And, not to say I'm not talking bad about anyone, but a lot of them just snitched, right? And a lot of them just they're coming out and they're telling their stories now because they gave up their gangs, right? My wife was like, if they can do it, your story is just as worse as them, and you didn't snitch on anybody. You never told, you kept solid, you did your time, you went through hell, and now you're back and you're successful, right? You you live a good life. I have my family. We have a couple businesses, and I'm happy with life, and I can't ask for anything else. God has been great to me, so I'm just happy.
So when you started to tell your story, would you say that helped you psychologically?
Yeah, I would say it's a therapy because I have told it to several people in the past that I get close to. You know, some people might think, "Oh man, this guy's seen too many movies." I mean, a lot of people could think that. I always read comments about my other podcasts that I've had. And yeah, of course, people gonna be like, "Oh, this guy's an idiot. He's talking about 60 a key and this and that." Listen, I lived through it. I'm not here to tell a movie. This was my life, right? This is what I went through. I did the time. I paid for the crime I committed. And now I sleep well at night. I don't have any issues. I don't have any problems. I'm not in any gangs, any cartels. I just live a good life, pay my taxes, and I'm a rehabilitated human being. That's it, right? I love freedom. Freedom's the best thing ever. You can't beat it.
Look, Oscar, congratulations getting through this and having this positive. You got a smile on your face right now, just says everything. You are living a good life. So, for the young people and who've got gangsteritis, they've watched too many of these movies. Just in conclusion, what do you say to them?
Oh man, to the youth, to the adults, to anyone out there listening, you might think it looks cool in the movies. You might think it sounds good on the rap music, but just keep this in mind. That's all entertainment. These people do not live what they talk about. If your favorite rapper lived what he's talking about, he'd be doing a life sentence. All right. Don't eat up these lines. It's just entertainment. Go take care of your families, get a career, study, open up a business. All right. You don't have to sell drugs to live a good life. I'm a living example. I have other people that are living examples. You are a living example, Sean, that you can come out and you can make it. You could be someone without having to do, you know, drug crimes. You don't have to be a kingpin. You don't have to traffic. You don't have to do none of that. Just be an honest person. Be good. Spread love around the world. Share your stories. Everybody's story is different. And that's it, man. Just live, love, and peace.
Keep going. I'm just changing my battery. Tell the viewers all your different social media links.
All right. So we're all over social media. It's going to be Global Lockdown with Oscar Castro. We're on YouTube. We're on I'm sorry. We're on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. Global Lockdown with Oscar Castro. We're going to be interviewing people. I have interviews on my YouTube channel with people that I was locked up with. They're sharing their stories with me. I'm trying to get them connected with different podcasters as well. Sean, maybe we could talk in the future with a couple people I have. I know I've connected people with Matthew Cox and Inside True Crime and Johnny Mitchell. So, I mean, that's what it's about. We're just trying to get the story out and see where it goes from there. Writing a book, and we're gonna see where it goes, man. Maybe we'll make a movie one day.
So all of Oscar's links are in the description box below this video. If you're watching it on YouTube, check out his work. Please support what he's doing. Shout out to Matt Cox, who I found you through. I've been a friend of Matt for many years now. He's a great guy, and people check out his channel. And we have had interviews with Posh Pete, if you're in the UK, who also spent time in prison in Ecuador. If people want to check, I think we've interviewed him about 4 or 5 times. If you are interested in the Ecuador prison stuff, check out the interviews we did with Posh Pete. All right, brother. Thank you very much for your time, and all the best to you, my friend.
Sean, thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you, guys. Live, love, peace.
Cheers.